Welcome to the Endless Entrepreneurs YouTube channel. My name is Luke Henson. I am a reseller primarily on eBay, Poshmark, a little bit of Mercari and Amazon. I also invest in real estate, buy and hold long-term single family homes right now. Just have one rental property to clarify based off a previous comment. And then I also work full-time in the corporate world. So you can juggle all three businesses and, well, counting my job as a business and document it on this channel in hopes to help anyone who's interested in reselling. Do a little bit of real estate content, but it's more of just updates, not really expert yet, just learning the ropes as I go. But primarily reselling information. And if you see from the title here, you're tuning in, whether you're new to my channel, you're rewatching it later, this is live right now. Topic's going to be retail Armageddon. I know it's like a catchy kind of term, but really just talking about the last decade, the trends that have happened in retail, what that means looking ahead from a reselling perspective, why I've switched to buying liquidation. This isn't a sales pitch for why you should. I think it's just a really good topic. I posted on Instagram this morning just kind of about the trends and what I'm trying to do. I don't think it's for everyone, but I think it's good to know. I think it's good to talk about the trends, debate the trends, and really think about how you can position yourself as a business owner, as a reseller, as whatever you're trying to get into, understanding the consumer behavior, understanding what supply is going to be out there, where you can make profit, where you can build your business. I think it's really important to discuss. Hoping that this will be helpful to you. So I'm going to jump right in. I'll do Q&A at the end, and hopefully this will be a little interactive as we go. And I'll see people in the chat here because it is a kind of an interesting topic. I'm sure a lot of people have some feedback based on wherever you work. If you are working full-time, maybe a lot of you do work in retail or places like that and have a lot of perspective on that. But I'm going to reference my post from this morning on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's Endless Entrepreneurs. Feel free to jump over there, give me a follow, and check out that post. It was this morning, I just kind of typed it up and I was really thinking about, as we enter 2019, my business has radically changed over the last year. Went from thrifting, primarily building my business, one-offs, unique, mostly apparel, to pretty much exclusively buying liquidation, new with tags, new without tags type stuff. Still all apparel for the most part. And for instance, I have 7 pallets with 3,900 units coming to my house sometime this next week. I'm hoping like Wednesday or Thursday. So like that's the type of volume I'm doing. I'm super small fish compared to most people who are buying tractor trailer loads and things like that. So I am actually not even getting the economy of scale that I should with pricing, but it is what it is. So that's where this topic really came from. And in my post, I referenced 2 kind of graphs, and it was a decent article by Business Insider, and it was from like mid to late last year. I think the data was as of August 2018 when I looked at it. But the first one just showed trends, and I'm just going to reference the stats here. It was showing trends of announced resale closures by square footage. So basically the square footage of those retail spaces themselves and the store closure. It could be any company. It doesn't really say specifically that it's like apparel. So I'm assuming that it's all brick and mortar retail that they did the study on. I didn't look deep into the detail of it, but I mean, the trends is kind of the trends here. And since 2009, actually let's do 2010 was kind of the dip. It was just under 50 million square feet of closures during 2010, and it's pretty much steadily been like on a little bit of that hockey stick curve upwards since then, and it's risen. In 2018 was the highest year ever since then, so in the 8-year span, and it was like almost 125 million square feet. So 150% basically increase, steadily going up over the last 8 years of retail space, which means a couple things, right? One is when I think about that, it's all right. So these retail stores aren't selling in brick and mortar anymore. That doesn't mean they went out of business necessarily, right? So just because you close your storefront doesn't mean you're going out of business. Maybe they switched to a more direct-to-consumer model. Maybe they're using Amazon as a distribution platform. Maybe they've adopted some other way to distribute their product to customers. So my mind doesn't right away go to, oh, they're out of business. That's what first I think about. Okay, maybe they've adapted, right? Like we're in the e-commerce, kind of era now where it's starting to ramp up. Maybe they've shifted and adapted, which is great. Then, you kind of go to the next stage of like mall type stuff. You think of like a Sears or JC Penney's, and I'm trying to think of some of the other big ones that have hit the headlines here. Obviously Toys R Us, but bigger, well-known, like long-standing, multiple decades of successful companies that are folding and filing bankruptcy and liquidating. And I think of that as kind of that next tier where this is driving some of these retail closures and this square footage that there's referencing here. So then it becomes the question of, all right, so what happens to all their inventory, right? And so a couple different things can happen. I am not an expert by any means, but what I have figured out through buying through a supplier and understanding, how active retailers, so ones that are in business still doing well and liquidate, is they, right, on a routine basis, whether it's seasonal, monthly, quarterly, it. So I was just reading comments here. But they liquidate on a pretty regular schedule, good inventory, but it's just seasons change and it's ready to move it out, right? And I'm getting, for instance, a lot of the stuff I buy. I mean, I'm wearing actually some of it, but I get a lot of activewear, so I get a lot of Under Armour, Nike, Adidas, North Face, Columbia, Field and Stream, a lot of hunting stuff. All new attack that's coming, and it's coming from companies that are actually doing well. And so the think about the price point I'm getting it at, the quantity that I'm getting that at from a business that's doing well is profitable for me to build a business around my small little niche here out of my house, right? And then you start thinking about these other companies where it's like they're going to be liquidating at a mass scale where like deeply, deeply discounted because it's got to go. I think Toys R Us was a really good case study of that. I know a lot of Amazon sellers took huge advantage of that. I mean, toured the country, going, exclusive store closures, 80, 90, 95%, discounted stuff, like super, super, super cheap, buying it by the tractor trailer load. That's just a more extreme version of it. And those are when they go out of business. So that leverage is, the companies lose more and more leverage in the liquidation play, the further in trouble they are, right? Whereas like I'm buying from a healthy company, right? And I don't have as much leverage, but I have, I'm getting some because I'm helping get rid of the product that they don't want to sell or keep on their storefronts anymore. And when you think about these storefronts, right, like they only have so much space. Us as resellers, we only have so much space, and people are commenting on the tubs behind me. It's like, this is my office. I never intended for my eBay office to have inventory in it, right? Like I do photos over here when I'm filling in for photos and, I don't have no help, or, I do obviously my videos in here and things like that. I never intended to have this here, but space is such a premium and as you grow, you have to maximize it. And so that's what's happening in these stores. And when stuff's out of season, they need to maximize that space to the person walking in the store, making sure they're selling current stuff that they want. So they move it out, right? And so when these stores are going out of business, and the square footage is becoming vacant, when kind of referencing back to those statistics, these are the things I start thinking about is like, man, this opportunity of inventory and people needing to buy it is going to be enormous. Like it's already big right now, but I truly don't think we've even scratched the surface of it. Like I really don't believe that. And kind of want to flip to the next graph that I posted was, it was percent of U.S. retail spending made online during that same period. So it was like 2000 to current, or 2018. And if you look like dating back to 2000, which, we'll go a little farther back than we talked about the other one, it was at like just under 1% of all retail spending was online. Now it's up to 10%. So think about that. Like all these stores, which it looked radical, right? It looks radical from a square footage perspective, are going out of business, just completely cleared out. Empty malls, empty storefronts, all this stuff. And yet online spending, you think about it, or you think e-commerce is just completely cannibalizing these businesses, right? That's what I would think. I would think, okay, well, if all of this is going out of business, I would expect the e-commerce to be the kind of driving force that's chewing away at it, but it's only at 10%, which means that 90% of the retail is still being done brick and mortar, in person. So like it's a really interesting when you put those two pieces together and think about that correlation. Is to me, it means that we're just at the beginning. Like we haven't even hit the scale of what's about to happen. What I do think from a nuance perspective, and when I look at trends, is I think that the scale of the kind of the massacre, so to speak, like the carnage that's going to happen, is going to be very specific to certain retail, certain products. And my brain goes, and I'm not an expert, my brain goes immediately to time savings, right? Like I can't ever see, like people are doing some car shopping online, but for the most part, like you want to go there and test drive it, right? Like you want to go there or test drive some, like I don't think that's going to evolve as much. Whereas like clothing, well, if you have free returns on every platform you buy on, well, being there to try it on just doesn't really matter, right? Like, and if you have same day shipping, if you want it, you're not in a pinch that often where you have to stop in a store and grab something quick. I still think there'll always be a need for the in-person, but I think the percentage of like the apparel is going to flip the most. And that's where like, from my business models, I only sell apparel right now. I don't think I'll always be limited to apparel. I think that'll expand for sure as I grow. I picked apparel in the beginning because it was easiest to ship. Like that was, for me, that was the easiest thing to package, standardize, streamline, and ship. But when you think about the other in-between niches and products, and like toys obviously is one that's getting hit really hard. Just some like bigger purchases like a Home Depot, like tools, things like that, where like you're not the expert, having someone to help you. I think about like jewelry is a great example. Like I don't think that's really ever going to change, because those big purchases, like you want someone there to guide you through it. Like when I bought my engagement ring for Shannon, I wanted someone there to guide me through. Like I knew kind of what she wanted, but I wanted to learn. I wanted someone to help me, like, and upsell me was what they were doing. But I mean, in general, like that type of personal service, I don't think is ever going to really go away that much. When you flip back to like apparel and stuff though, like that's where I think I don't need someone to help me try on something, right? Like I don't need someone to be like, oh, here, this will look good on you. Like I don't need that. I have what my wife can tell me, first of all. But second of all, like I don't need that. I can just order it online and send it back if it doesn't fit. So I think that's a really interesting position we're in. Now, kind of transitioning, so we talk trends, is a lot of the comments I've got in this conversation is, well, if something is being liquidated, it's because the demand went away, which is a completely valid point, right? Like I think it is. It's a valid point to bring up and to think through and to be like, okay, is this being liquidated simply because it's out of season? Or is it being liquidated because no one wanted it because it sucked? Is it being liquidated because the company was bad and they went out of business? And what I think, and I'm going to speak specifically to apparel on this because I think the dynamics are wide and vast across each niche. I don't think that the demand for the product has changed for the most part with a lot of the apparel, especially if you know your brands. Like the stuff I'm selling, I'm getting liquidation. I don't think the demand's gone away because it's selling through really fast, even on platforms like an eBay or Poshmark. It's that the demand in the marketplace for how it's bought has changed. So the demand to walk into a store and try something out and buy it has diminished. The demand for the product itself hasn't gone away. It's just is shifting slowly to buyers who just want to buy it online. Like what I really want to see is, even though that, kind of statistic is 10% for all retail, I would love to see what it is. And I haven't done a lot of research on it. I'm just kind of hypothesizing, is what is that for clothing, right? Like I'm sure that number is much higher for clothing. And if someone knows it and drop it in the comments or look it up, that'd be great. I would really think that the clothing apparel is much higher. Simply because the demand for the way that it's purchased has shifted. And that's why I think it's a massive opportunity when I think about 2019 and really beyond. Like my kind of whole thought process and why I'm making a change, and I'll dive into kind of the machine and the model behind it here soon, is because I think there's a massive opportunity to brace yourself and get ready for, because the demand hasn't gone anywhere. It's just shifting, and no one's really shifting with it. Like I haven't really seen like Amazon was like first to marketplace with like understanding distribution, getting straight to consumer, like brilliant. Like, I mean, just unbelievable. Jeff Bezos, unbelievable. But none of these companies have really adapted still. Like, it's amazing to me that companies haven't gone straight to consumer. Like, it's just absurd to me that these apparel companies haven't just started going straight to consumer, like running massive campaigns to just like only online, like doing limited, like if I was a lot of these companies, I'd be doing limited releases of different colorways and styles only online, certain amount of things. I'd be running massive promotions on Instagram, on Facebook ads of like, we're only making 10,000 of this colorway for this North Face sweater ever. We're never making it again. Running the promos, like stuff like that, they could be killing on if they were being smart about the way that the apparel and style is kind of shifted to that online platform. It just astounds me they haven't. But what that does mean to me is that there are that slow at adapting, that over the next 10, 15 years, like those big companies, it takes them a long time to shift ways they're going and really change how they're approaching things. So I think it's just going to be a massive opportunity. And the limitations, like if you haven't built the machine, like if you haven't built the capacity to handle liquidation, and I'll dive into that, what that means, you're not going to be able to really capitalize on it. And it's interesting, like I've had a lot of surplus inventory. Like it's been a challenge for me is my arrangement with my suppliers. I have to take all of it. Like the reason I'm able to get even the pricing I have now, which I wish was even more favorable, but it's good enough to make a business off of, is I have to take it all. Like no questions asked. As it comes in, the apparel goes out the door to me. I pay for it. I take it. I figure out what to do with it after. So when I have too much coming, that's why I'm, this last month and a half, his supply from this specific company has increased a lot more. He's landed some additional contracts, more volume, which is great. But now all of a sudden I can't handle all of it. So that's why I know you've seen it. People follow me on Instagram. It's like I've been posting and kind of unloading locally some of it at my cost just to get it out of here because I need it out of my way. I wish I didn't even have to do that. I really wish I didn't have to do that. But like I have basically a 1-car garage that I'm operating out of as my warehouse. So that's the way it goes. But in any case, like the limitations that come with not having space, not having capital, and not having the right sell-through or machine built up is that you can't take advantage when these things happen, right? And what I think is really going to happen is just similar to what happened with Toys R Us, is more of these stores are going to have these rapid, like just closures where they go bankrupt, they go through these phases, and they're, certain people who they know have the capital, the means, the machine, the space, are proven track record of handling it. They're going to get awarded contracts where they literally just get to buy on, 10 cents on the dollar for everything and just take it and run it through their machine. Like I really, really believe that's what's going to start to happen in some of these scenarios. And I personally, I'm betting on that happening, and I'm betting on wanting to build that machine so that I can do that. And I don't know how long it's going to take me. I'm obviously going to be doing it out of my house for quite a while. I enjoy working full time, so it's not like I'm trying to jump out of that. But I really do think that working towards that and continuing to develop these relationships and these machines is really a big deal and able to take advantage of that. Krillin, thank you for the super chat. Krillin jumped in here, just gave a $2 super chat. He asked how many LL Bean pants I have left. And for those of you who haven't followed me before, I bought 3,000 pair of LL Bean pants 2016. Yeah, it was like mid 2016. And basically I think I got about 800 left, Krillin. Pretty much killed it on that deal. I bought them for $1.15 a pair. They were new without tag, shelf pull stuff. Some new with tags. It was a really, really good deal. Looks like Steve Rakin is in the chat. Rakin Profit. What's going on, Steve? Appreciate that, man. I see you're killing it. Steve just closed on his first rental property, multifamily. He's house hacking. Super, super pumped for him. Looks like we got Jason Sloan in the chat, man. We got a little bunch of OGs dropping in the chat right now. What's going on, Jason? Jason actually helped me push those pallets into my garage. That was the first pallet I ever ordered, and Jason helped me get that in there. So appreciate it. Oh yeah, Christy, you're right. It was 2017. Yeah, so it hasn't been that long. Feels like it was forever ago. It's 2017 spring, like May-ish, I think. Yeah, hit that like button for me, guys, if you don't mind. Steve's in the chat saying I would definitely appreciate that, and so does YouTube. But kind of, shifting to talking through the machine that it takes, and I think people underestimate what it takes to build that, and I don't even know fully what it takes to build that. I've talked to people who are further ahead and have that model kind of started to set up, but the main components I see as the biggest hurdles that people don't understand it takes is you need to have the capital, number one. So you do have the capital to be able to pull the trigger and buy large quantities of good. And even just exchanging DMs with people through some of the stuff I was trying to offload, when I told them the price per unit, it was like a little sticker shock. And I remember that being the same thing for me because I got so used to thrift store prices all the time that I figured, okay, I'm buying in bulk quantity. I'll be getting it even cheaper than that. And the reality is until you can buy tractor trailer loads, you're not really going to get crazy pricing outside of what you normally pay at thrift stores, especially because you're getting new with tag, desirable stuff. That's the way it goes. So, I mean, capital is a big piece of that, which is why I've built for so long and snowballed all my profit into my business and kept my job for as long as I have, which is not always the popular opinion, is that everyone wants to just leave their job. I've kept it so that I can keep pouring it in so that I'm ready and have the capital and the ability to do that whenever that opportunity comes, and it keeps getting bigger. The second is the space. You need an enormous amount of space to be able to take advantage of the volume of stuff. I mean, I didn't realize how much space a pallet takes up until it was in my garage, right? And I had barely any room to maneuver around. It's like, these boxes that they come on the pallets is like they're as big as I am almost, and most of them are like 4 feet tall. They're basically 48 by 40 is usually the dimensions from like a width and length perspective, and depending on how they stack them, I mean, they can get up to 4 or 5 feet tall, which just, it's a lot of freaking inventory in one space. And they're heavy. You need pallet jacks to move them for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. And if you don't have a lot of wide open space to unpack them, sort them, make sure that they're in like quantities, like styles, so you're not duplicating your listings. Like, the space isn't just about where to put it. The space is about how to process it. And I made so many mistakes early on in my LLB in order not having the space. I had so many duplicate listings, the same size and colors and styles. That was a pain in the ass later on because I didn't have the time to do that. And so it's interesting, like trying to understand the amount of space that you need. And even talking with like Chris over at Daily Refinement, talking through, we actually exchanged a few texts last week about how much space is enough space to process orders. And it's just like, I always packed all my space in my inventory and operate out of really small space. And now I have the opposite model where it's like, I need so much just wide open space to process the right way. So that's the other piece. The last one is sell through. If you don't have the sell through, and this is something that I've really focused on honing in, and I've done a much better job the last couple months, is now that I'm taking in large quantities, listing large quantities fast, if you don't have your pricing right and your presentation right, and you're focusing on keeping that inventory moving, you're basically going to end up cutting yourself off at the knees kind of thing. Like you're going to run out of runway with your capital because you're not turning it fast enough and replacing it fast enough for the next opportunity. You're not going to have the space to keep growing and filling and backfilling. And you're not really getting that return on all of your work that you're putting into the business. So that sell-through is becoming more and more important. Amazon sellers do it great, right? They time it, they know their velocity, they pretty much can calculate it when they're buying and selling products. Not so much when you're doing liquidation apparel. It's like, you're seeing on some of this stuff, you need to delicately price it the right way. You need to keep that moving. So it's really very, 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 very difficult to balance those things, to balance the capital outlay, to balance the space needed, and to kind of tweak and get that sell through the way you want. So yeah, like those I think are the three pillars that people don't really think about. And that's not even considering operating, right? Operating the day-to-day, right? Like photographs, getting the items listed, getting them, priced, getting them on multiple platforms, fulfilling the orders when they sell, all the customer service, the messages back and forth, just putting the bins on the shelves, pulling the orders when they sell. There's all this stuff that's like, that's just operating. That's just assume that you have that handled, assumed you have that figured out. And then now, you have the capital, the space, and the sell-through constraints to worry about. So there's just a lot. It's not complicated. I think Chris is the best. It's not complicated. It's just difficult to actually execute. So that's kind of my spiel. And what I just described, what I like to say is building the machine. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you guys can tell a lot of my posts and things. He's pretty much one of the only people I consume content of on a regular basis, just because I don't have a lot of time to consume content. But one of the things I like about him is he views marketing the same way that I kind of view processing, like reselling, is you're building a machine that can handle a capacity, right? So I view the machine as the process, right? I'm building a listing capability to list X amount of items per month, to photograph X amount of items per month, to ship X amount of items per month, right? I'm building that process, that infrastructure, that capacity into one big machine so that, in the future, as I scale and keep growing, whether it's into a warehouse or whatever, those processes keep building on each other and expanding, so that my capacity to take on more and more gets better. And that's when it gets really profitable and good, right? Like right now I'm at kind of like a fixed cost and I'm waiting for it to scale up and enjoy those economies of scale. Like I put in the investment up front to get the infrastructure. Now I'm waiting for it to catch up, and it's starting to, of really getting that true economy of scale. And that's what happens when you build like this, is once I can have the capacity to buy tractor trailer loads, my cost of goods probably goes in half, right? Maybe even 75% less. Like it's drastic, the drop from buying singles, pallets to, 1 to 4 pallets, to when you just send a tractor trailer load unmanifested and they can just ship it to you and they don't have to worry about it. There's no middleman taking the tractor trailer, breaking it up and storing it, and then sending it out. That's where all the additional costs come, just for people to kind of understand, is I'm buying from a middleman, right? Like I'm buying from a liquidator who has a contract with a retailer. So he gets the tractor trailers straight from the distribution centers of the retailer. He breaks them down in processes, and then he sends me the specific apparel that I want to take because he doesn't like dealing with it. He's going to mark up the receiving, right? The value of his contract, the fact he has that exclusive contract with them, right? He's going to mark up the time it takes for his employees to sort it, to count it, to invoice it, to pack it, to ship it, right? All of those things, that cost is getting added to my cost of goods. When I have built the infrastructure myself and have developed the relationships myself to take that out of the middle, then my cost of goods go drastically down, especially in the quantities I'd be able to buy in. So that's just like, that's where my vision is. I'm a long way from it, but it's like, you gotta build that. You have to have the foresight to be like, I'm not going to take money out of my business. And well, first of all, you need to decide something you want to do, because I think that most people, and I don't like to overgeneralize, but I think most people like to thrill the hunt. They like going to Goodwills. They like being a solopreneur. They like just thrifting and flipping, and that's what they do. And I think that's awesome. Like, my hat's off to you. Like, it's great. I did it for a long time. But if you decide you want more and you want to build, like, this is one way to do that, and it's going to be a massive opportunity. Like, I really, 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 really think it's a massive opportunity, and that's just what I'm counting on. And the reality is, if I'm wrong, I'm going to have a lot of fun building this business, and it is what it is. So I'm going to take some questions. I've been rambling for a really long time. I need water. All right. So I'm going to take some questions here. So someone asks, what am I doing to tweak my sell-through? So, I did a video just a little bit ago on free shipping and free returns, which I've switched to because I'm doing new attack stuff. That's helped drastically. I repriced my entire store very strategically based on competition. I've been using promoted listings very strategically with multi-quantity items, and trying to build up basically building up the amount of sales velocity in that single listing to get it up higher in the search engine. I've been really focusing on that because I have a lot of listings with lots of quantity. Like 40, 50, 60 of them. And I think that I'll have replenishables of them. And those are really the main things that I've been doing. I've definitely increased my quality back up. My quality started to get hurt with my photographs because I was scaling so fast. I've improved the quality of them drastically. That's helped. To be honest, my VA is a rock star and does a great job with pricing and descriptions. She writes a better title than I ever could dream of. I think that helps a ton as well. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry, just scrolling, making sure I don't miss it. Jason said, Luke is probably one of the smartest resellers I know. Oh, I appreciate that, Jason. I definitely think there are many smarter and executing at a much better level than I am. So Michelle doesn't ask, are you a member of any Patreons or masterminds? I am not. I'm a member of the Green Room, which Steve Rakin's in the chat. He's one of the admins of the Green Room. It's just a paid Facebook group, like a membership. I've been a part of that for many years. Just really a spot for like-minded resellers to exchange ideas. I like that because it's free form. There's not a lot of commitment. Like, there's really no commitment. And it's a good resource when you have questions about things that you're just not your expertise. Usually there's someone in there who is an expert in that niche. But yeah, I just don't have the time. I used to be, it's funny. So Jason's in the chat, and Chris over at Daily Refinement and we all used to be, and actually Tina, the Soul Advisor, we used to have like a little mastermind group. We met once a week for quite a few months. It was really good. I probably had some of the best growth and conversations I'd had as a reseller during that time. But we've all grown our businesses in different directions and bigger and better. And we just it's been tough to find time like that. Let's see what else we have. Jason asked, I'm looking for a warehouse. Not quite yet. I do have some really interesting ideas on. So everyone asks, I say everyone is a generalization, but literally I get this question nonstop on Instagram, especially in DMs, is am I going to go full-time, leave my job? I have some really interesting and good ideas on how to move into a warehouse space, how to operate out of that without ever actually leaving my job. I think it's definitely doable. I think that to me, if I ever got to that scale, I wouldn't want the job of managing the warehouse. So to me, figuring out how to do that is really important because I never want to trade my day job for being a warehouse manager. So if that makes sense to anyone, that's I think that it all could be done. Craig's checking in from the Outer Banks. How you doing, Craig? Thanks for stopping in. And yeah, Mark, I did put in a 10x12 shed out back. I got really lucky. I was fortunate during the hurricane, had a tree fall on my garage, which stunted my ability to pull and ship inventory because they had to get in there and ship or repair it from the inside. So I had to move all of my inventory out of my garage for them to do that. And my business insurance, which I actually have business insurance and highly recommend anyone who has more than just inventory in their house. If you have, I had 8,000, 9,000 piece of inventory at the time. Like when you get to that scale, like even out of your house, get business insurance. It's like $50 a month and it's worth it. They were able to pay and build the shed for me on my property so I can move all my inventory out of it into the shed while they repaired it. So they had offered to initially do like pods, but I have a fence all there on my yard, so it wasn't feasible to get the pods where I needed it. And so they basically were like, there's a certain amount of miscellaneous money that we can allocate to help with your stoppage in business. And so I got the shed for, it cost me like $100 total to get the shed in there and got to keep it. Mark just said, I love how Luke looks at business and systems. If you want more on systems and working on your business, not in it, read the E-Myth book. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. And yeah, actually, Mark, that's the book that you sent me, I believe, way back in the day. I'm probably a little bit into it. I don't think I finished it, though. I probably should cycle back to it. I have a bad problem with serial reading books. I read a couple chapters at a time and rotate. Audiobooks, I'll listen to straight through because I listen at work, but Ivan said, do you think an item will sell for more if there is more on the market or less? If so, then why tap the glass? I don't quite understand the question. It seems like you're just talking basic supply and demand. No, if there's more of an item available supply-wise, then more than demand, the price is going to drop. If the demand is extensive, more than supply, doesn't matter. You can price it wherever you want. I don't really know quite how to answer that question, but maybe I'm just misunderstanding. Michelle said, will you do any more dual shows with Prof, even though he's moved to FBA? Always up for shows with Jason and Steve, or really anyone else, any other resellers that are like-minded and like to discuss and debate. I always enjoy shows like that. I just haven't had the time to. I'm finally getting, I kind of a joke with Shannon the other day, I'm just finally getting my life back a little bit. It was really hard when I decided to reel back in the quality of my business. I had to bring it in-house and scale down and figure things out myself, which meant I had to carry a lot of the load of photographs and, a lot of kind of the, I don't want to say grunt work, but a lot of like the repetitive, and it chewed into my YouTube time. That's why you saw like a couple month period where I just didn't make a lot of content. And now that I've scaled that back out and kind of doing it the right way now, I'm getting time back. So that's why you're seeing me a little more on YouTube. But yeah, I'm always up for more shows. Craig just asked, how do I find a trustworthy VA? So I've said before, I got really fortunate. Mine reached out to me and proposed it to me. She had a writing background. She sold on eBay longer than I had. It just worked, and I was really lucky. But if I was to look for one from scratch, I think Chris over Daily Refinement has done a really good job of using like Upwork and things like that to post. I'd just be very detailed about what you're looking for. I would start very small, right? Whether you post on local Facebook group looking for like, local writing students at colleges looking for make extra bucks, or you go the Upwork route, be very detailed what you want and start very small, right? Have them do a very small capacity once a week, quality check it, give them good feedback, see if you can coach them up, and just rinse, repeat. Don't be afraid to cut ties quickly if it's not working. Don't waste your time and hurt your productivity. Terry said, I'm from the Raleigh area. Thanks for a great channel to follow and learn from. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. Jason said, yeah, I've been Luke Shed and I barely got alive. I just saw that, Jason. Yeah, it's not pretty. It's pretty tight. Oh man, Jason, you went there. Jason, so Jason's a big UVA fan, Virginia fan. I'm a huge Syracuse fan, like diehard. So he just said we can do a UVA versus Syracuse in basketball. So are we gonna do tournament record versus tournament record, or regular season versus regular season, Jason? Yeah, I went there. That's the only thing I can say about any more Syracuse basketball is we can't do anything in the regular season that's consistent ever. So yeah, that's my spiel, guys, on retail Armageddon, so to speak. I think the amount of product out there is going to be absurd. Like investing and getting ready to handle it is probably one of the more exciting things that I've wrapped my head around lately. I like real estate, but it's definitely more passive. I don't mind being a landlord right now, although I got to tell you, January is very interesting. I had the amount of repairs that have come up has been pretty insane. All legitimate, but I went from having friends as tenants to non-friends, and my friends were really good tenants, but because of it, they're really nice and didn't bug me about a lot of little things. And so, like, when they moved out, I didn't know about them. So the new tenants moved in, and they're like, "Oh, this." So it's been a nice learning experience for me. And yeah, if you don't mind hitting that like button, let's say we got 50 watching live. I appreciate it. Lets YouTube know it's some decent content, and they reward that in the algorithm for sure. Ooh, that's a good question from Mark. He said, "Any thoughts on eBay firing some employees?" I don't know if I have thoughts on it because I'm not really sure what they've been doing. I haven't really followed how they've handled it. I do know that they've talked about operating more efficiently. I mean, being a systems and a process guy, like, as technology evolves, roles get replaced, new roles get added. I do think that if it's a matter of changing roles, like, they've got rid of a role and added a role, like, that's good because that means they're thinking about the business differently and what they need to do to keep evolving. I'm kind of impartial because I just don't know. I don't have enough information, Mark. Otherwise, I would comment more articulately on that. I will say big props to Poshmark today. So they added Serena Williams to their board of directors. It's just super smart from a business perspective, super smart because she's really sharp. She's built a fantastic brand on her own. She's a pretty good entrepreneur and really understands media and the market and kind of trends and fashion and things like that. So she's done really well for herself. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think that was a really good move. I hope eBay takes some notes. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, next, it's your move now, eBay. I know I watched one of Chris's videos the other day on Daily Refinement, and he had joked about like having The Rock or someone else do like kind of a flip challenge out of their house, like with eBay. Like, I think that's brilliant. Like, that would be the not playing on the arbitrage of like current society celebrities that are accepted and embraced like kind of across multiple genres and populations. Like, I just think it's silly to not be using that, especially with the day of social media and how influential it is. Like, it's just silly to me. I mean, they've been getting better. I've noticed, like, even like their Twitter account and their Instagram, things like that, they've been a lot more active in trying to jump in trends and make posts around trends and drive traffic that way, which has been it's nice to see. Hopefully, Mark, some of the changes you've talked about, I haven't really paid attention to them, are more to generate more ideas like that. But I mean, eBay as a platform is fantastic. Like, it's not a bad platform. It started as an auction site and it's evolved into something faster than they were ready for. That's really how I feel about it. Is it's evolved so fast they didn't know how to handle it, and it went from something completely different to something completely different, and they're just getting their hands around it. But they need to catch up faster, and they can catch up faster. They're just choosing not to. I don't really know what the deal with that is, but the traffic's there, the eyes are there, the velocity is nowhere close to Amazon. Like, I would never try to say that, but to be successful on it, it's there. I mean, there's no doubt it's there. And one of the limitations of liquidation, just to kind of come full circle, is a lot of the stuff I'm buying, I have access to because Amazon sellers can't sell it for the most part, or it's very difficult to sell it because the brands, they don't have receipts for. It's not an authorized distribution or distributor. So like this, I'm buying from a liquidation company who's getting it from them liquidated. I wouldn't be able to get the proper documentation from to provide Amazon to sell Adidas and North Face and Nike and those things. I was actually talking to Jason about that today. So there's definitely like a big barrier to entry of this stuff, of this type of inventory, if you're an Amazon seller, because you can't get it. So I'm able to get it because I can find ways to sell it not using Amazon, which is why I've kind of done that. Sheepa just said scam bay for me lately. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just have a hard time focusing on the negativity like that. Like, a certain percentage of all your transactions are going to rub you the wrong way. And like, that's just the way it is. And like, I post sometimes on Instagram and joke about like ridiculous buyers. It's more just for a good laugh. Like, it doesn't really bother me. I just think it's funny. But it's like focusing on that stuff. It's like the way it is. Like, it's just a cost of doing business, just like any other store. I mean, think about the returns on Amazon. Like, I don't know, eBay buyers complain, but man, like, it's even crazier there. Mark said StubHub's owned by eBay. Yeah, I don't even understand that. Like, that's just a whole different topic. Like, they're so whatever. It is what it is. Alex said, love this channel, Luke. I work full time and I'm trying to force myself to get up at 5 a.m. and do 10 listings before work like you used to do. Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you get that stuff done before your day starts, no matter what, your business will always grow. I think that was one of the best benefits of doing that, was no matter what, my business was going to grow every day because it's already done. So hats off to you. And I'm not a morning person anymore. Part of me fixing my sleep schedule was I now do CrossFit in the evenings and I sleep hard. Like I work out hard and I sleep hard. So I do all my stuff in between the lines and, in between when I get up and, basically from when I get home from work until I go to bed. I'm up later a lot more. Like you've seen some of my Instagram stories. Like sometimes I'm shipping until midnight, especially with some of my sales way to bed. But it just works better for my lifestyle right now. I am adaptable based on whatever commitments I have, but that's what I've been doing. So talking back and said, just wondering how much offering free shipping has helped you. So far, small sample size has helped a lot. But I'll preface with it's because of the items I'm selling. I think I'm pretty sure I'm competing against other new with tag sellers, right? Like if I was selling all used inventory, I think I would still be charging shipping. But because I'm doing new with tags pretty much exclusively or new without tags as well, this is the only way I can compete. A big Syracuse fan, Mark. He's that's what basketball fan. Big Syracuse fan. I grew up like an hour south of there. I used to be a Northeast person. Hated the snow. Moved down here to Charlotte, but I'm still a diehard Syracuse fan. It was actually kind of nice to see our football team did something this year. It was a little enjoyable. But yeah, I'm curious, guys. I'm going to wrap up here because I do have a lot to do tonight still. Like I said, I've been shipping a lot more than normal because my sales are up and up and up, which is great. But I wanted to jump on here. I'm trying to do 2 lives a week, 2 live shows. I've got some non-live footage that I've been editing slowly. I have a new computer now, so I finally can edit video the right way. Shannon got this for me for an anniversary present, so it's a great gift. So that's how I'm going to kind of hack a little bit, is if I can do 2 live shows a week and get you like 2 pre-recorded ones. I feel like 4 videos a week is a pretty nice steady volume to get content back out there. I miss it. I like doing content. I miss doing shows. Hopefully we can get some live shows going soon with some other people. But that's kind of the goal. If you're new to the channel and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button if you like the content, because you'll get notified anytime I have new content. If you liked it, please hit the like button, or dislike if you didn't. I don't really care, but let eBay know or let YouTube know something about the video. And leave comments below on your thoughts, like if you agree with it, if you have different thoughts on it, why you have different thoughts. I like the comments. I like interacting. It was funny. I had posted a comment from YouTube the other day that was kind of ridiculous. It was a good laugh. But I really don't mind negative comments. I've never really have. I don't think I would have survived on YouTube this long if they bothered me. So feel free. Just drop whatever comments you have down there. I like to interact. I like to read it. So have an awesome night, guys. Really appreciate everyone stopping in. Really appreciate all the support. And I hope you guys keep crushing it here in 2019. Have an awesome night, everyone.